Hello, everybody. Michelle here. Man, it's been a long time since I've done a video. Well before Christmas. I think the last video I did was for all my little Christmas golden books. Anyhow, which by the way, there's still one in the shop if anybody's interested. Thought I would just throw that out there. I'm really excited about this project, and I'm really excited that I'm getting to share it today because it's been a long time in the making, and I really, really enjoy it, and I hope that you guys do too. So let's just get started. I'll give you a little bit of background. I have a sewing machine, and I took an online course through Craftsy, which I think now is called Blueprint. I don't think it's Craftsy anymore, but I'm not 100% on that. Anyhow, I took a class called Stupendous Stitching by Carol Ann Waugh, and it's just a way of, using all of the stitches in your sewing machine, and then in the end it creates a beautiful piece of fiber art. So I'd made a bunch of them, and I had attached them to canvas, and I have them now hanging in my living room. And of course they're beautiful because they show all of my machine stitches and some hand stitching and some quilting, and yeah, they're just really pretty. I'll share them in another video. I just wanted to get the book done, and I wanted to get it on video. This book is actually for me, but I do have, because I love doing it so much, I have 3 more in the works, and I'll share those covers with you after we've done this flip through. So this is the book. I know it's absolutely humongous. I don't know that I meant for it to be quite this big, because I am actually going to use it. When I sit at my machine, I want to be able to pull the book out and look at the stitches. But anyhow, let's get inside. I'll just start. No more rambling. So I called this one Stitches because that's pretty much what it is. And the cover basically just shows a number of the stitches from my machine. Please excuse my fingers. I was coffee dyeing yesterday, and that stuff doesn't come off. I started with rubber gloves, but gave up on them pretty quickly. So anyway, my hands have now got the beautiful brown-orange tinge to them. Anyhow, so this is the outside. I did it like well, I'm not really sure. I think it's called Midori style, where the signatures are put in with an elastic. So that's how I did it. And rather than putting an elastic around the book to hold it closed, I decided to use this ribbon because it's a measuring tape. And then I put a little dangly charm there. And yeah, so this is the side. There's some really cute little dangly sewing themed charms dangling from it. And there's a lot of tabs. So what it is, we'll go in. I had to put washi tape here and my ruler to try to stay in frame, so I'm not constantly moving around and out of frame. So this is, let's get going. It's 3 signatures. The first and third signatures are all fabric. And then the middle signature is like a sewing theme journal, which is what I'm going to do with the other covers. I'm going to make them to be sewing themed journals. So anyway, this is the inside, and I'll tell you another thing. I was going to put pockets on them, but after I did finished the machine stitching, I don't know if you can see it or not, but it actually looks like there was some quilting done. Like you can see the stitching lines from this stitching. So I decided not to put pockets because I really kind of like seeing those stitching lines. Anyhow, so this is the first page of the first signature. And then, so what I did was I put a little layer of lace danglies there, which will probably be a nuisance over time, but they look pretty. And then on the inside, I made pockets of each of them. And then I did a little card where I put the stitch number, the default stitch, and then I adjusted the stitch lengths and widths to create different stitches. Now my machine has 270 different stitches, so needless to say, this took a long time because I had to go through each stitch and then do the adjustments and then record it all and then type it all up. Anyhow, I'm sure that there's a better way to do it, a more efficient way, but that was all I could think of at the time, so that's the way I did it. So each one of these pages is its own pocket with those cards inside. So there we go. This is where it starts. These are my stitches for my machine. I used all different kinds of threads. Mostly, I really enjoy the variegated, so I used a lot of the variegated threads. Note to self, for the next one I'm probably not going to use the lighter colored thread simply because it doesn't show up that well. This is one of my favorite pages because I did all the buttonhole types of things that my machine does. All the different kinds of, you know, like a darning stitch, and you can do a welted buttonhole and these types of tacking stitches and eyelets. And then once I did the buttonholes, I thought, oh, I really need to put buttons on there because these are some of my favorite buttons, and I was hoarding them, and I was pretty sure I was never going to put them in a journal for sale. So I kept them and I put them in here, and I thought that was a great idea. And so here's so I put, you know, the stitches for one page on one side and the stitches for another page on the other side. And I put the tabs on there like that. And I can see that we're already a little bit, oh no, it's not. Okay, never mind. I thought it was out of order, but we're good. So I'll just flip through each of these pages just to show you. Actually, I think it's beautiful, to be honest. I think that all the different stitches are just gorgeous. And anyway, this is the center of the first signature. And I have a couple of buttons on the, you know, the signature. Because okay, I'll explain. So this whole signature comes right out. It just comes right out, and it's all stitched with the 5-hole pamphlet stitch on its own. So this can be a book on its own. And then, but when I sewed it together, then I had when I sewed that signature, I had those loose thread. So I just attached some little buttons there. Now there's pockets here. I don't have anything in them, but I'm sure that there will be a point in time where I'll put stuff in them because, like I said, this book is for me and I do plan on using it. Okay, so that's the middle of the first signature. Get that on properly. And then we'll just go through more of the stitches, and my machine does that, and I'm just in love with that one. Look at, oh, I'm losing my marker. Washi tape is the worst, isn't it? Look at that stitch. Not on my thumb, but isn't that pretty? I love that my machine can do that. Anyhow. And then there's more stitches, and I use different thread for each page because I like the idea of the different colors. Now this fabric collection that it's called She Who Sews. They're very, very, very cool panels, but I bought them a number of years ago, and everywhere I look now, nobody has it anymore. Not these particular ones. They have some other ones of this collection, but not the panels with the gals, you know, looking like that. So here's the middle signature, and this one's all, well, it's not all paper, but it's more the junk journal of the, you know, of the journal itself. So I just did some stamping. It's this canvas fabric, did some stamping, and then I put a zipper in here and some more stitching, and this is the label from a tie, like a man's suit tie or whatever. Then I put this inside there. It's just a little booklet with some pages that you can write on. And then I just popped a little, one of those Tim Holtz paper clips to keep it closed. And then, of course, I had to put one of these. This is, I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but anyway, I did a bunch of acrylic paint pouring. And I had done so many canvases that I had no more room on my walls for them. So I started using watercolor paper, and I got some really nice effects. And anyway, the colors I just think are beautiful. But yeah, that's all that is acrylic paint. And you pour it all. There's a lot of videos on it, so if you're interested in doing it, check it out. It's called acrylic paint pouring, and it's really fun. So I just pop those in there, and then close that little zipper. And then this one here, this little quilt panel was inspired by Johanna Clough. I think that's how you say her last name. It's C-L-O-U-G-H. She's pretty popular, I think, in the junk journaling YouTube world. So anyway, she made these and did a tutorial on them. So I just did a bunch of them too, and I embossed the backs. And so I think that's perfect for a sewing themed journal. Oh, and this is actually a pocket, but I don't have anything in there right now. So I'm sure I'm going to fill these little spots. This was a little label, just handmade keepsake, it says. So this is another page. This is kind of like a little pocket. I don't have anything in it. Let's see. This might fit in it. Oh, it's going to be pretty tight. Oh, look at that. Anyway, so it's just a little pocket for it. This tag's too big for it, but maybe I can put that tag in there. Sorry. Well, anyhow. And so there's a pattern envelope. And in this one, oh, I'm sorry, I hit the camera again. My head hit it that time. I have a needle book, like it's a kind of a, well, I guess it's vintage. It's probably about the 50s or something this style was out. And I actually have the actual needle book, but I didn't want to use the needle book, so I scanned it, the inside and the outside. Isn't that cool? Like, they just don't do these anymore. But, and just made a little booklet out of it, which I'm sure I'll probably write some notes on or something. Maybe not, I don't know. Just cute in the book. And then here's a little page with some little pink danglies and some buttons. Of course, got to use buttons, and a lace tab. This is another thing. I never use flowers, or rarely do I use flowers in my books. But I had a whole bunch, and I thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot. So I just glued them in there. This is it's a pattern with a piece of pattern graph tracing paper, and this is just like a little collage with another men's tie or man's tie label, and then some lace and some muslin. And there's just a little tag that's got coffee paper on the back. And I just stamped, actually what I did on this one is I was stamping this stamp on paper or on muslin, and then to clean off my stamp, because there was still ink on it, I just dabbed it on a paper towel, and that was the image that came out, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I just Mod Podged it onto the tag. And yeah, I did another one too, but that'll be for one of the other books. This is from a sewing book, and it's got the little sewing machine charm on it, attached by a, well, they call those D-rings. It's a D-ring. So like that one side is straight. So it makes it really nice for that kind of thing. And then the measuring tape holding it on. And then this is a little pair of scissors that I just printed out and did a little bit of fussy cutting. This is a piece of my handmade paper, and I make this stuff and I'm never really sure what to do with it. You can write on it, but anyhow, I saw an idea in an embroidery book, just dangling some buttons or beads from holes. So I thought, well, that's a kind of a neat idea. So I gave it a shot, and I actually think it looks kind of pretty. I think you can see that, can't you? Yeah. This idea is from Jibid Neri. It's what she did is she copied the spool, that spool, and then just made it larger in the computer and then cut it out. I actually used my Scan and Cut. They have this pattern on the Scan and Cut, and I just made it really large, and I just cut two of them. So this is one, and then the other one is underneath. And then I just attached them with, like there's little hinges on each side of those. And then this is just a little envelope that I made out of a pattern book from the pattern paper. And then a little, kind of an altered paper clip. I used an embroidery card, thread card, or floss, embroidery floss card as the little paper clip. So that's that. This is a piece of pattern paper inside, and this is tracing paper, pattern tracing paper. So it's got the graph, excuse me. Oh, sorry, I need some water. A pattern piece, and yeah, graph paper, tracing paper. That's pretty neat stuff. And then this is just a regular piece of tracing paper. And then I use these little spools that I think I got from Pinterest. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure. And then I just made this little tag. It's got a button with the measuring tape as the tab. And then it's just a, empty back tag. And then a lace tab there. This is pattern paper, the tissue, pattern tissue paper. And this is another page from a pattern book. And so I just put some fabric swatches with little buttons, purple being one of my favorite colors. There's lots of purple everywhere. And so I put the two little purple buttons in the center of that signature. And then some more little fabric tabs or fabric samples with the buttons. And then this was from a scarf that I purchased from Goodwill. And I just cut the corners off of it and used it as a pocket. And then this little tag I made kind of like a little collage and on like an index card. And I did a little stamping. And that just pops in there. So the next ones that I make are going to be quite similar to the paper part of this journal. I'm not going to use, obviously your machine is going to have different stitches than mine. So anyway, I'll work out those details later. Did a lot of stitching. There's the other side of that spool. And this one I just wrapped some embroidery thread around it. And I actually did put a little dollop of glue just underneath just to stop the thread from sliding out. And then this is like a little, it was a journaling card that I made. And then I just put a tag on top with some buttons attached. It's from a fairy book, which is really cute. The colors are beautiful. And then this is a little journaling card that I made. And there's the back part of the handmade paper. And this page I made a little piece, or a little collage that you can just lift up. It is done on, this is like it's like a stabilizer for when you're doing machine stitching. When you're using the fancier stitches, you probably should use a stabilizer underneath your fabric so that the stitches catch properly. Anyway, so this was a piece of stabilizer, and I just did a little bit of a collage on it and added some buttons. And I don't do a lot of collaging, and I'm intrigued with it because I think they're very beautiful. And it's interesting how they're made, because really it's just scrap stuff that you just kind of throw there on things. Like clusters and things. I just really like them. And like I said, I don't do a lot of them. So I'm hoping to do a bit more of this because I really enjoyed it. It's cathartic, like you don't really think a lot. You just plunk things down, and then I just, did some straight stitching around everything. And then, yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. There's the other side of that, that pair of scissors. And this is from the sewing book as well. And this is a pocket. This was a quilt thing that I made. It's called a cathedral window. And because when I took that class by Carol Ann Waugh called Stupendous Stitching, she called this type of thing where you show all your stitches, she called it a stitch Bible. So I thought how appropriate to put a cathedral window quilt piece. Although I'm not calling this a Bible, I'm calling it a Stitches journal. Just simply because, I don't know. Actually, it's not simple. I don't really have a reason or an excuse, but I'm just calling it a journal for simplicity's sake, I guess. And there's a little tag with coffee dyed index card and a little button and some cheesecloth. That's a little bit more of that collaging stuff that I'm starting to get into. This is from a pattern book as well. And then I have a little, just like a little journaling card. My stitches went right through the paper on this one, so I just repaired it with some washi. Easy peasy. Oh yeah, I have a paper clip. I was wondering why it was getting stuck. There's a paper clip. And so this is from a embroidery thread. It's just it's just for, an added embellishment. And this one is like a little measuring tape charm. And there's a measuring tape tab on the D-ring. And then this is another little journaling card that I made. So just put that in there with the hanger paper clip. And then this is another pattern envelope. There's nothing in it. And I put those two pattern envelopes in with a hinge. I just attached a hinge to each envelope and then used that, to sew in the signatures, or to sew it in the signature. It's a really cute pattern. This is, I got this idea from the bottom drawer in my sewing machine desk. I have a bunch of these scraps lying around where I just tested out stitches, just to see what a stitch looks like, or what a certain thread looks like with that stitch. And so I did one for this book, and just plunked a few stitches on there. And it's just a piece of muslin, and it's backed with some more stabilizer. This one actually has a double layer of stabilizer, only because I knew I was going to be doing these free motion circles and heavier stitches. And then that just lifts up and you can write on there, or I can write on there. Another lace tab. And then there's a little embellishment. It's an old, those are old snaps, that people use on clothing. And yeah, just embellish the page. And that's a pocket there. And then I made another little card with the coffee dyed ledger paper on the back. So that's that one. And then this one here, my idea was, I was thinking was a needle book. That's kind of where I started out, but I never really, it's not really a needle book. I put the piece of felt in there and then just added a few things, like a little fabric scrap, some safety pins, a little button, and then another little embellished piece on that kilt pin. I don't know what the name of those pins are, but I know that they use them on kilts, so that's why I call it a kilt pin. And then that was the last page of that middle signature. And this book was never meant to be this fat. But anyhow, it is. So yeah, so there's another one of those panels from She Who Sews. And I think it's just beautiful. I love them. Very, very creative person who designed that fabric. So we go in again, and there's, you know, the card like in the first signature. And then the stitches from my machine. All the different stitches. And I used different threads for all the stitches. There's the center of the signature. I haven't really decorated it. I put some of that. It's got a couple pockets, some more buttons, and yeah. And then some more. Some of these stitches are just beautiful. It's so pretty to see them all laid out like this, because the only other way I can see the stitches on my machine is actually on my machine. So you can imagine how small that is, because there's 270 of them. So they're pretty tiny. So it's really hard. Like when I stitch some of these out and I look at the example on my machine, I said, oh no, it doesn't look anything like that. So I'm really love that I've stitched them all out like this. Like some really neat stitches. And yeah, that one's probably should have used a darker thread there, but I didn't. Anyhow, so these ones are really neat too. And this is probably one of my favorite pages, because it's got all the sewing, like it's got the scissors, it's got the thread spools, the needle and thread. It's got little cats, some sheep, maple leaf, and then the little, you know, mannequin. And then it also stitches words, which is really cool. And then the last stitch says handmade, which I actually think is very cool. Anyhow, so that's the back of that signature. And that's the back of the book. So, like a traveler's notebook or Midori, or I'm not sure what a Midori is, but I think that's the one with the elastics. I just pull out the two end pieces to kind of get everything lined up. And then actually, this needle book sort of needs to be pulled up. And so that's the side. And I know my cover doesn't really fit the book, because like I said, I didn't expect it to be quite so big, but... And then I just wrap the ribbon around like that. And wrap this ribbon around like that. And then I'll tie that up in the back, like right there at the middle where it comes out. So that's that one. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, because I really enjoyed making it, and I actually think it's like just a beautiful journal. I really love it. Anyhow, yes. So I'll just show you the covers for the next ones that I'm going to start, and they're going to be, I wanted to have them done before I did the video, but they're a lot of work. So I thought I would start with that one, share it, and then just show you where I'm at with the other ones. So this is going to be the next one that I'm working on, and it's going to be a bit of a fairy theme. And I put a pocket on the front. I didn't want to cover too many of the hand stitches, you know, like the little French knots and those flowers and stuff. So I think it's okay. And that's the inside. So that'll be the book cover. So it'll be a good size. I'll probably make it 2 signatures. I haven't, like I said, I haven't worked out the details yet. So that'll be the next one I'm working on. And then this one here, I'm working on the hand stitching part of it right now. So I've got, you know, this line of flowers to do. I did some French knots here, French knots here. This is called couching, you know, where you put yarn or rope or whatever, and then you just zigzag over it. And so there's the back of that with a piece of interfacing and some stabilizer. So that's that one. And then this is this one here, all the hand stitching is done. And so the next step on this one will be to sandwich it with a piece of quilt batting and then a backing. And then I will do more machine stitching to give it more of a kind of quilted feel to it. I actually think this one's quite beautiful. I actually like them all. Never mind. Anyhow, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll, oh, and yeah, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to make another video here shortly for a giveaway. So I'll chat with you guys some more then. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. Bye.